Mr. Shawn Huang.
Madam Deputy Speaker, the world is more connected today, an outcome of technological advancements, rapid digitalization, and the proliferation of mobile devices spurred by more affordable mobile devices. We're experiencing an avalanche of innovation, opportunity, and progress. For example, today's smartphones are 1 million times more powerful than Apollo 11 guidance systems and 1,000 times faster than the Cray 2 supercomputers in the mid-1980s. There were 2 billion people online in 2015, and today, over 5 billion people, or 63% of the world, are connected to the internet. The growing dependency on digital systems over the last 20 years has fundamentally changed how societies function, how communities interact, and how individuals respond. Everything from how we purchase our groceries, travel, and play. Last year, there were 12 billion IoT active endpoints that manage many critical services and infrastructure ranging from manufacturing and healthcare to e-commerce. The number of IoTs will double in 2025 to over 24 billion, of which 70% of the IoTs contain vulnerabilities that can be exploited. According to the World Economic Forum, cybersecurity measures in place by businesses, governments, and individuals today are increasingly obsolete by the growing sophistication of cyber capabilities. The Global Risk Report states a 435% increase in ransomware in 2020. Case in point would be the Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack, which impacted the computerized system managing the pipeline and forced the company to shut down operations to contain the attack. This pipeline carries gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel from Texas to as far as New York and delivers about 45% of all energy consumed on the East Coast. Eventually, the company paid the ransom of 75 Bitcoin, or $4.4 million back then, after which an IT tool was given to them to restore the system, and this event triggered an emergency declaration for 17 states, including Washington, D.C., to keep the fuel lines open. This attack could have happened in Singapore, especially for our critical infrastructure, such as our oil refineries and port and air services. May I ask the Minister of Defense, as part of the build-up of the Fourth Service, what are the priorities and areas of focus for the next 3 years, and how will this focus shift in the medium term? How differently will we safeguard our critical infrastructure with the DIS? As digitalization continues to accelerate and remote working capabilities expand into homes due to the pandemic, companies have increased their digital reach and footprint in homes. Workers today have acquired more digital capabilities to work and operate remotely. With this, every organization now has a greater variety of connected devices with little protection against a cyber attack. When well coordinated, other threats such as deepfakes and disinformation for hire can cause disruption and deepen the mistrust between societies, businesses, and government. For example, deepfakes have been used to clone voices to authorize the transfer of monies to fraudulent accounts. In other scenarios, it can influence outcomes and views. The digital and intelligence operating domain is vastly different from traditional domains. The spectrum of the intensity of the conflict, the target sets, which include private and public infrastructure, as well as its potential impact. It is dynamic and difficult to attribute. The notions of force and violence will also be less apparent in the digital domain. This is a difficult operating landscape and will need flexible, highly adaptable force that has strong partnerships and networks to be effective. May I ask the Minister for Defense, how will DIS define the state of war in the digital domain? And how will the state of victory and defeat be defined in the digital domain? And similar to other three services, how does DIS project deterrence in this domain? As we look deep within the core of the mission of DIS, future capabilities such as quantum computing can cause disruptions and inflections to the security landscape. Quantum computing is one of those threats that can break existing encryption keys and pose immense security risks to critical data. The public key encryption is still uncrackable when using very long key pairs with 2048 or 4096-bit keys. An advanced quantum computer could crack the code in over a few hours. However, the development of advanced quantum computers today will still require 100,000 times more processing power with 100 times improved error rate to be viable. This may be over the horizon, but we must continue to invest and be ready to guard against these threats as they emerge. Looking closer to our current state today, an attacker's pathway takes an average of 2 days to penetrate the company's internal computer systems. Checkpoint Research reported that there are 50% more attack attempts per week on corporate networks in 2021 than 2020. These attempts were predominantly on education and research organizations, followed by government, military, and communications. Today, it will take an average of 212 days to identify the breach and another 75 days to contain it. The total cost? $3.86 million for the attack. This offensive threat landscape is coupled with an employment gap of over 3 million cybersecurity professionals worldwide. There is a dearth of talent with the requisite technical skills. As such, the job industry has a high turnover, and retaining talent is increasingly difficult as there are bountiful opportunities to progress. I'd like to ask the Minister for Defense, how will DIS plan to recruit, train, and retain these talent, and if the overall compensation of skilled personnel will be competitive with the industry to ensure a favorable retention rate within the service. There's much to reflect as we think of the city of Troy and the Trojan horse, and 300 Spartans at the betrayal of the Battle of Thermopylae, and the story of Dune between the Harkonnens and the Atreides. The world has fundamentally changed, hence we must change and evolve how we fight and defend ourselves. Like how the US Air Force was formed from the Army Air Corps, the Space Forces from the Air Force, we need a service that can protect our sovereignty in our digital domain. Madam Deputy Speaker, I support the bill.